Guys, we're live. I want to welcome you guys back to the show, Paul and Jason and me. It's been a long time since the three of us have been on together. We want to do a little talking offense, and maybe we'll get sidetracked and go down some bunny trails today. But first of all, I want to tell you guys how warm it is here in Bakersfield. Hey, Siri, what's the temperature in Bakersfield right now? Thank you, Siri. 110.
What's it in Vegas? Like, I'm watching Vegas right now.
Mm-hmm.
And they said it's the hottest it's ever been in Vegas, apparently.
Oh, wow.
That's what the announcers are saying.
Yeah.
Like, they're breaking records for heat in Vegas.
Yeah. We're fortunate because we're supposed to get up to 118, but it is now 1 p.m. my time. I doubt if we're going to raise another 8 degrees today.
But if you have weather like Vegas has, to me, it doesn't even feel hot. You guys don't have humidity in Vegas. I don't know if you get humidity there, but
we were 113 yesterday with 33% humidity. So we're not dry. we're not like Iowa humidity or Florida humidity.
it's a completely different 110 here. If it gets to 110.
You can't even breathe. You just try to breathe it in. You feel like you're suffocating.
Right.
This time of year, the pandemic in Florida is called swamp ass. So.
Yeah, you literally can't dry off after a shower in Florida.
Yeah.
Or in Iowa, for that matter.
Right.
Maybe you Nebraskans have a little bit different.
It's still 90% humidity.
Okay. So, hey, guys, like I said, we want to talk a little offense, and we might go down some bunny trails. But first of all, let me remind you that to hit that subscribe button, smash it hard. Hit the like button while you're online currently, and hit the like button. Let's get that algorithm going. I believe I got 300, and I don't even know what I have for followers now, 330 something, I think. Let's get that number up to at least 400, and then I would like to be at 500 by kickoff. Guys, we got 6 weeks for kickoff. Let's get up to 500. Let's get that algorithm going. Let's get me in a place where we can make some money on this podcast, and I can get some better equipment, and we can do a better show, better quality show. I can actually afford to pay for some good streaming services instead of these cheap ones I'm using to broadcast on right now.
If you smash it too hard, you may get a message from Terry. So,
yeah.
There you go. All right. Okay, so we wanted to talk a little
more
offense.
Caitlin Clark. You need more Caitlin Clark content.
Yeah,
there.
Okay.
That's all you need. We should talk about Caitlin Clark today, baby.
All right, well, let's kick it off with Caitlin Clark and her triple-double. And they won. They upset the number one team in the league.
Yep.
This
What's that?
This triple-double's been coming, right? I mean, she's been close a couple of times.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I was just saying that last time I think she just needed one more rebound. Yep. And they took her out of the game. And I said, if that had been Bluter would have put her back in the game and said, get that rebound, rest of you clear out and let her get it.
Bluter believes in that. Yeah, Bluter really believes in that. She likes that kind of stuff where it appears Christy Sides doesn't really care about that. And I don't even know if Christy Sides knows about it in the moment, even though all the entire fans that are there know. Right?
Well, you heard the fans too when she grabbed that rebound.
Yeah, when she grabbed that. Did you guys watch that game live?
Yes, I did.
I mean, and she only had 4 turnovers, and 2 of them were just bad communication, right? She passed it down to Boston right when Boston went to the left. So, like, Boston, she didn't know Boston was going to move. Those kind of turnovers are going to happen.
Right.
Like, she didn't have any really bad turnovers, and she only had 4, right?
Yeah. So I got a question. Why are her passes that fall off of somebody else's hands considered her turnovers?
That's
they
just
can't
how the
handle
W
her pass.
Yeah, that's just how the W does it. I don't know if college does it. I never paid attention before. because it did happen a lot in college too. And she still averaged 5 turnovers a game in college. So I'm assuming college does the same thing. So, but the more her teammates figure her out, the less turnovers are going to be, right? Because they're not expecting the passes they get. Now they are, right? In the beginning of the year, they would their head would barely be turned and the ball's coming. Because Clark's coming from Iowa, where all the women understood you got to be looking. The ball's coming.
Yeah.
And now even one of those passes was on a fast break. Clark went all the way to the rim and then behind the back, dished it to Boston, and Boston was ready for it. Right? It came behind her and everything, and Boston was ready for it. So, like, they're just
Boston's getting better at looking for those passes coming from Caitlin.
Something that doesn't really get talked about a lot is all the players that came back with Gabby Marshall and Kate Martin and you know, Caitlin Clark, she had played with those other girls for 3, 4, 5 years. And now with this new Indiana Fever team, they had like a practice and a half before they played their first game, right? So, it's not like she's had 2 or 3 seasons or even like a good off season with these girls, with these ladies. They're literally kind of growing together in real time.
Yeah.
Well, you're kind of seeing maybe it actually helped them. Remember in the beginning when they played 11 games in 20 days? Maybe that just like forced them. Yeah, they lost. They went 1-8 to start the year. Well, I mean, they basically had no practice. They were just going game, travel, game, right? Mm-hmm. But maybe that might help them in the long run. They're going to be in the playoffs, I believe, right?
They just got to stay in the top 8. They just have to stay in the top 8, which I think they're number 7 right now.
And I mean, I think they're number 8, but I think they could be number 6, right? 6 is Phoenix, Chicago. They've already taken 2 from Chicago. And the one game they lost to Chicago, they were up 15 and then just let the game get away in the fourth quarter.
We'll give Angel Reese some of that credit. Angel Reese went to work in the fourth quarter and wasn't going to be denied that game. She grabbed all the rebounds and put all the putbacks.
Right, but also,
had a career game that night.
But also, Indiana stopped playing offense. Right, they stopped going fast. They're up 15. They're trying to work the clock. When their game is go fast.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
to go back to your scheduling point too, Coach. I want to say that it was like 4 or 5 more road games than home games in that stretch as well. Like their schedule is a little bit backloaded with more space and more home games.
Well, they said the commissioner said that, because I don't know what some program does the scheduling, and this was only the second time in the history of the WNBA they had a team with that kind of schedule. Like, it was really the hardest schedule.
So it was just a coincidence that Caitlin's on the team and they didn't set the schedule up to take advantage of Caitlin.
That's what they say. I don't know. But it was. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say.
Contrary, I think they absolutely set it up to take advantage of Caitlin. Not for her success or for the Fever's success, but, I mean, it's the Caitlin parade. And they wanted to take advantage of the Caitlin Fever going everywhere. You notice they're playing these games in bigger arenas and everything. And so this was the league trying to strike while the iron was hot, in my opinion. I think
that's what a lot of people, I mean, they won't come out and say it, but that's what a lot of people say. I mean, it is what it is, because now they've already won 9 games. A year ago, they won 13. They didn't even win game 7 until game 29 or 28. So they're already a few wins ahead of last year. They're getting better, as you can see. They beat the number 1 team. They haven't beat a team with a winning record in 3 years. Well, they've already beaten 2. They beat Phoenix and New York. So,
and they've done that. Both teams they had some icons on both those teams. WNBA
Yeah.
icons.
They've beaten 6 Olympians so far. Phoenix has 3, and New York has 3. So
Speaking of Olympians, what do you guys think that's going to look like with Caitlin dropping dimes to Angel Reese?
Well,
I think
Angel
that's
can
gonna
run
be
the
great.
court with the best of them. So, I mean,
Yeah.
if
think
she
so.
has her head on a swivel, I think, I think it'll be
I
great.
mean, it could be a super team, to be honest. I mean, I think they could beat the Olympians. The Olympians are a bunch of old women.
I think there's a
Except
lot of pressure
Sabrina.
on the
Sabrina,
US.
I can't say her name. I can't say her name.
Just say Sabrina.
She's only been in the league 3 years, so she's young. She's one of the younger ones. So in the New York Liberty, she had a hell of a game against this yesterday, but when they needed her to show up, she disappeared. Her 3-pointers kept bouncing off the rim.
Should we talk about this all-star voting, right? Where they said last year the number one person got with like 90,000 votes or something, and this year Caitlin was over 700,000.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Boston got over 600,000. Right.
Yeah.
So the two, that tells you, I mean, most of them were Iowa people, right? They are voting for, their girl Clark, but then they're also voting for their teammate.
And why was Kelsey Mitchell voted into the All-Star game? That girl, she had like one assist yesterday. One assist, and she's in a position where she should have a lot more assists.
Got Kate Martin into the All-Star game.
Yeah. It's the fan voting is what did it.
Yeah. Oh, well, at the last minute, Iowa fans must have quit voting her when she said she was embarrassed and didn't deserve it. They must have quit voting her because all of a sudden she dropped out.
Well, Kelsey got in because of fan voting as well.
Yeah.
It was 50% fan voting, 25% media, and 25% of the players themselves.
Oh,
so
okay.
I mean, yeah, that's how it goes. 50% of your points that they give you to be included come from your fan voting, and then it goes 25 and 25.
Okay.
So,
and I mean, to answer the question on how did Kelsey get there, it's exposure, right? People are watching the Fever games. You can look in the numbers. I know people want to say the numbers for the W are great. No, the numbers for the Fever are great. The rest of the league has a bump, but it's not an explosion, right?
No.
People are watching the Fever games.
I mean, think about it. Like Reese likes to come out and say stuff. Well, they're still playing in a high school gym in Chicago.
Right.
They should be playing in the United Center, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where the Fever plays, in the Pacers Stadium or arena. The Fever aren't playing where they played last year. And when the Fever go on the road, the team doesn't play. Even when they went to Atlanta, they play in a high school gym, but they played at a bigger arena when the Fever came to town.
So where are the Fever playing? Are they playing in the same arena as the Pacers?
Yes.
Is that Lucas Oil, or do they not play at Lucas Oil?
No, they play at
Oil. Yeah. Lucas Oil is the football team.
That's where the Colts play.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Hawkeyes when they go to get beat in the football championships.
Hey.
Well, we've been blown out twice there in 2 Big Ten West. Anyway, never mind.
Well,
let's segue into our offense, okay? Let's segue into the offense a little bit now that we're brought that up. Jason,
before you do that, I just want to say CC is averaging double points or assists, and she's almost there in rebounds in the last 5 games. So she's averaging a double-double in the last 5 games, but rebounds aren't quite there. That's how close she's been to a triple-double this whole – like the last 5 games has just been remarkable for Caitlin.
Okay. All right.
And
go ahead. Go ahead, Paul. I don't want to interrupt.
I haven't looked into it, but I would love to see where her rebounds per game compares with her other guard contemporaries, right? Because it's one thing for points, one thing for assists, but guards don't get, double-figure rebounds on the regular. So
they have to go off of assists, which is why Clark is now tied with Sue Bird for the most double-doubles with assists. It's so much easier to get a double-double when you're a big, points and rebounds.
Yeah.
It's so much harder because assists are harder to come by, which is why in the NBA, only 2 players a year ago averaged double assists, in a game, where like 50 players averaged double rebounds. So
And
it's
if
just
you're
so much
watching
harder to
these
get
games,
assists.
it's probably close to two assist turnovers per game are the other end of the assist issue, right? Where if we're able to catch passes or just finish wide open layups and gimme shots.
Crispy ball was that you could just hit a layup.
Okay. All right, let's move on. Let's move on. Okay. All righty. Now, I want to get to the Iowa offense. Jason, I'm going to ask you a little bit if you're able to explain a little bit about what we can expect to see from Tim Lester's offense or hope to see.
I can only do hope to see because I would hope to see his offense, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know because Paul and I have been talking about this for so long because Brian would bring it out of the bag with the motions and motions help the quarterback in the passing game. Motions help the running backs because it moves eyes of linebackers and safeties, right? So, and we would have games where, and Paul and I discussed it after the Purdue game, we begged for more of it. 2 years ago, I think. Wasn't it 2 years ago?
Peaches was the quarterback.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
And it just goes away. And why? It doesn't make any sense because obviously the verbiage is there, right? They know what they're doing because you called it one game. So it's not like, they can't figure it out the next game. You already have the verbiage there. So I'm hoping to see the motion that we heard about. I'm hoping we see a lot of fly sweeps, from our receivers who have speed. I'm hoping we use all 53 yards across the field, right? Use the space. If you spread them out and give the ball to Caleb with having the defense spread out in the middle, right? That's going to help your offensive line. That helps so much. When you give Caleb space, I can't think of one time Caleb was caught from behind, right? We could remember against Iowa State, Jazz Patterson got caught from behind. There was 2 runs. Williams got caught from behind on another one. There's like a bunch of runs that were like, man, if that was Caleb, he would have been gone, right? And I think if we just spread them out, use motion, confuse the defense a little bit and get out of the phone booth, I think that would help out a lot. But I don't know if that's Kirk, who doesn't like that, but I don't know why he would bring Lester in, right? And then, but he does it. I guess he does it to everybody, right? That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping to see.
Let me ask you this. Let's say I was in a 2 tight end set. All right. And we have, let's say the defense is playing an over, right? So that means they've got like a strong side linebacker covering or over the tight end. Is that essentially what an over is?
Yep.
Whether it's a linebacker or what we might call a cash, something like that, they're playing over the tight end. Now, if we have the double tights on one side, or we start out even and then we motion the second tight end over there. So now we're double tights on one side. They're in an over defense. We've got them kind of over committed to that side. Maybe they even bring a safety down to that side. Now you've got your left tackle one-on-one with that weak side defensive end. You've got a guard center combo on the defensive tackle. Is that
the nose? You're talking about a 3-man front, right?
Or a 4-man front.
Well, on a 3-man front, you would have the guard and centers like on the middle, the nose tackle. In a 4-man front, though, you would have the guard, but it would depend on what the play call is because your guards are going to have somebody head up on them, right? So depending on where they're going, the center could, push their defensive tackle, whichever direction, and then go straight to a linebacker, right? So it'd be like a double and then peel off and go to the linebacker. So, but you're right. But those are the motions that we want to see, like what you just say. We've already seen that in Iowa, right? What you just described is what a lot of what we saw, against Purdue, we saw that, right? Where they motioned across and they took the linebacker's eyes and then they ran Caleb the backside.
Backside,
yeah. And the linebacker's eyes were going this way, and it was too late before they realized that Caleb had the ball. He went for 75 yards. I want to say it was like almost the first play of the second half when he did that. It was on that particular play. And so, yeah, we've seen all that. That's what I want to see. I just want to see some motion. And, the biggest thing I want to see is what my biggest critique of Brian was, because his plays were good, right? He would get receivers wide open. The problem with Brian is he would not get the quarterback to the line of scrimmage in time, right? He would get him to the line of scrimmage with 10 seconds left. Like Petrus was actually pretty darn good when he got to the line of scrimmage with 15 or more seconds. We did a video on that a couple years ago as well. Mm-hmm. And when he would get to the line of scrimmage and he actually could play quarterback, where what I mean by that is he can look over and see what the heck the defense is doing, right? And then you bring someone in motion, and that almost gives away the defense. You're going to know if they're in zone, if they're in man. They'll even change it. Even if they are in zone, they could change what they're doing to a cover 3, to a cover 2, whatever, right? Because cover 4 is basically man. Because once you get a man in your zone, you're taking that man. So cover 4, you're just not chasing people across, but once somebody comes in your area, you're going with them. So it turns into like a man defense. But to answer your question for real is I want to see the quarterback to the line of scrimmage with 15 or more seconds to go so they can do those motions so the quarterback can actually see what the heck the defense adjusts to with the motion. There's so many things that go through a quarterback's mind that you can't continuously go to the line of scrimmage with less than 10 seconds to go. I mean, that doesn't even make sense, right? But Brian did that a lot. And we've discussed that, I know. But that's my big thing. And it would even be better if we get between 15 and 20 seconds to the line of scrimmage to do those motions, to have time, right? To get up there, do the motion, have the quarterback be able to retain what he's seeing before he has to say hike and not worry about the play clock. I mean, so many times Iowa quarterbacks would get to the line of scrimmage and they would have to worry about the play clock plus worry about the damn play, right? They have, okay, we got to do this. We got to do this. Oh, shoot, it's already down to 2 seconds. Come on. I mean, that is just my biggest complaint about Brian. I mean, I loved what he did on the offense with getting receivers open. Obviously, his plays worked, but you couldn't execute them on a lot of times because the quarterback is so rushed, and you just can't do that. That's why these quarterbacks in the no huddle, they look so much more comfortable because they get to the line of scrimmage. They know they have 25 seconds or whatever to get everything going. They have time to think about what the play's being called and what the defense is doing because they're already out there with whatever formation they're in. The defense is showing what they're doing with the base coverage, right? Okay, that's what they're doing now. But what are they going to do when we send the slot receiver in motion, right? Oh, yeah. That's what they're doing. So they're coming down, or they're moving. They're in straight up man coverage. Maybe they're in cover 2 man. There's just so many things that a quarterback in. I think Petrus can probably do it, and we'll find out at Utah State because they go faster. And he gets to the line of scrimmage, and he'll probably be able to see more of what's going on, be having more time. See, that's why I kind of like Petrus transferring. Then we get to watch him and see what he does. They run the spread, right? A year ago, they tried running the quarterback, but that was because the quarterback was a running quarterback. They're not going to run Petrus. They want to get up to the line of scrimmage quickly, and they want to throw the football. That's what he's going to do. So I'm
Does,
pretty excited about that as well.
What I want to see. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I was just going to say, speaking of Utah State and Petrus, they lost their coach, and they did name an interim coach, I think the defensive coordinator. Does that change Petrus's starting job to somebody else? Does that change their offensive philosophy?
I think I don't listen. I mean, Petrus is a practice quarterback in shorts, which is why everybody fell in love with him, right? Even at the Manning camp, right? Petrus is a practice quarterback. So in shorts, he's gonna dominate. He's gonna make you go, holy cow, this kid, because he has a cannon. The only problem with Petrus is this, right? Which is a huge problem for a quarterback. However, like I said, a lot of it had to do, I think, with him being rushed, getting to the line of scrimmage and not being able to see. So I think his play is what's going to affect it. They're not going to change the offense. I didn't know the head coach was gone. I had no idea about that. But whoever the interim guys come in, they're not going to change what they've already worked on, right? They're not just going to start over in the summer. And so I think it just – will you mute that son of a gun? But
Hello.
Yeah, and Utah State's not going to see Big Ten defenses every week either, and that matters.
No, that's a valid point, right? That's the biggest point is that, but also what I'm excited about is just watching what they do. Like watch a Petrus when he gets to the line of scrimmage with the chance to actually look over the defense, right? And he doesn't feel rushed because he obviously doesn't have that brain that does well being rushed. I mean, he has every tool known to man except for up here where he just doesn't process information fast. But does he process information when he's up there with time to see what the defense is doing?
Yeah, the other thing I want to see from the Iowa offense that we haven't seen in years is to be able to take advantage of a busted play on defense, right? I mean, like, when was the last time Iowa just had a guy running uncovered, just wide open down and we were able to complete a 30-yard pass in the air that goes for 70 for a touchdown, right?
Right.
Do you have to go back to the Big Ten championship game against Michigan State for the last time that we had a play like that where where
it was actually connected on. I mean, that's not true because Stanley did it a lot. Remember the 75-yard touchdown pass to Tracy against Wisconsin? Remember the year that I think it was Nate's senior year and Tracy was a freshman. I can remember a lot of them that Stanley threw, but you're right. In the last few years, since 2020, right? I can't remember one since 2020, really. Where, I mean, you could think of last year. Just think of last year. Remember that Iowa State game when there was literally nobody around? I want to say it was Brown. I think it was Brown. No, it was Anderson, Seth Anderson. Nobody was around him, and McNair threw it over his head like 20 yards, even though he could have underthrew it, right? There was nobody around him. So, yeah, I see your point. There was so many wide open wide receivers where the ball would go off in the gots. You were at a bowl game and witnessed it.
Yeah.
Right? You said there was nobody around Regini, and Pete just threw it into the stands. So,
right.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Just to take advantage of a defense screw up. I mean, that should be some of your big time plays. That should almost be executed 90% of the time. Yeah. When you're throwing against air as a quarterback.
Right. Okay. I wanna steer this conversation a little bit toward like last year's offense. Even the first four games that Cade quarterbacked, we still didn't mount any offense in any of those games. What I want to know is Cade the right guy to run Lester's offense?
Yeah, but I'm going to disagree with what you said because if you remember right, what they did was they just played Iowa football. What happened in every one of those games? Iowa got a huge lead. Iowa was beating Iowa State 20-3. Iowa was beaten. The first game of the year was at Utah State. Who was that? The very first game? I don't remember. But they were up by like 20 points. And then they went into Iowa mode. Like, it's not – I mean, that's really not true at all when you consider what Kurt Ferentz does when he gets a big lead. They didn't keep playing offense against Iowa State. I remember that game just because he missed so many wide open receivers that day. I think he's the guy because he's really smart. He knows what to do, right? And he's normally pretty accurate. So, but to say the offense didn't do much when they had double-digit leads every single one of those games, and then what does Kirk do? Why is Kirk's philosophy is what? 72-2 or something like that when he gets up by 8 points? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, so they've only lost twice since 2015, getting an 8-point lead. That's just what he does. Like, the offense did what it's supposed to do, and they would get this big lead. Even the defense, I want to say that, was it Iowa State? We had a pick six. I think one of the games there was a pick six to put Iowa up 20 to whatever. So, and then even with the pick six, that still put them up, and that says it tells Kirk, we're not going to do anything fancy. And even Cade said that. If you go back and watch Cade's interview on that podcast with the Iowa girl and her husband. Her husband was a wide receiver for Iowa.
Okay.
Vandenberg.
Vandenberg. The Vandenbergs. Go back and watch that because he was frustrated in a few games. He's like, guys, it doesn't have to be like this, right? Mm-hmm. Because they just stopped running offense and they let the defense win.
So is that what we're going to do again this year, even with Leicester? Let Leicester get an 8-point lead and then shut it down?
That's Kirk's way. We don't know. That's one thing that nobody can say. Like, literally nobody can say. I don't even know if Kirk can answer that, right?
Yeah.
Because it's deep ingrained into him to play
defense. I miss Hayden Fridays. Hayden Fridays. Put the hammer down and keep it down until the game clock ends in zeros.
Right.
Kirk don't do that. I'm kind of tired of that. Teams we should be blowing out. I'll bet you we don't blow out Illinois State by 30 or 40 points like some people think we might. Or Troy.
They might.
Troy, we might win. We might win by 2 touchdowns at the most because we're going to shut it down.
I'm kind
of tired of that.
Right? They might to prove a point. It'll be Tim Lester's first game, and I don't think Kirk will have any issues. Like, he's not going to be afraid of Illinois State scoring on our defense, right? He's not going to have issues with – it's when he plays teams where he's a little nervous about them scoring. Like, he already knows that it's locked down on a lot of the games. Like the Iowa State game, he knew they weren't going to come back, even though they almost did, right? But in his mind, I just want to win. That's all he cares. Even when it comes to his son's job, right? He knew his son was going to get made fun of. He didn't care. He just wanted to win. Like, in his mind, winning should cure everything, right?
Right.
But, and I think he's going to do the same. I think Iowa's going to do the same thing this year. I think they're going to win 10 again.
Okay. All right.
But
are you in the opinion that if they win 10 games, they're in the playoffs, or do you think it's going to be iffy?
Let's let Paul decide. Like, okay. Paul, what were you going to say?
Well, I think that shutting it down may look a little different under Lester than it did under Brian. Because that doesn't mean we stop the pre-snap motions. And I think Lester has a different, what's the word I'm going to go for here? Running scheme, you might say. Like, how are we the different angles for the running backs and things like that, where it's going to be the same, but it's going to look different, right? And so there's going to be a little more window dressing.
That is a valid point, Paul. Yeah, that's a valid point.
And he's a guy that his his philosophy and his background is running the football. He's still a but as a former quarterback too, he understands how you're using the run to set up the pass.
Mm-hmm. Well, he does a lot of RPOs.
Right.
So, like, he will make it look like a run and throw it right down the middle to the tight end, right? Because the linebackers will come up. But you're 100% accurate. I didn't even think about that. Is they're still going to be doing a lot of that motion stuff. They're going to do fly sweeps as part of their running game. They're not just going to hand it off up the middle, like we saw with Brian.
Mm-hmm.
So we hope not. We hope not. I guess I should say we hope not.
Okay. Here's a question for you. Our first 4 games, and then Minnesota will be that game number 4, which a lot of people have them down the pecking order this year, not to have a great season. But do you think that in all 4 games, including Iowa State, do we go vanilla to save something for Ohio State coming off a bye week the following after the Minnesota game?
No, I don't think they can afford to go. Maybe they won't show everything if the game goes according to plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Kirk never does. Well, Kirk's pretty vanilla, but just by nature. But I don't think they do anything different unless the game is well in hand,
mm-hmm.
right? They're not going to sacrifice. Kirk doesn't sacrifice victories like that.
Yeah. The funny thing about Kirk is I've seen him on more than one occasion. If everything's clicking, if the offense is doing well, the defense is playing really well, special teams are doing great, and I was up 35, that's about the time that we'll throw a wrinkle out there and do something, exotic. When you would think, why wouldn't you hold on to that with the whole point of knowing we would never do that against Ohio State, but we want them to see it.
Right.
I see what. Okay, I understand. You want Ohio State to be thinking about it, but we're not going to do it.
We never in a million years would do it, right?
Because if an exotic goes bad, it'll go bad against Ohio State.
Correct.
That's true. Yeah, that's 100% accurate.
Okay. You go back to that. So, Penn State, go back to the Penn State game last year. That was like the most conservative game plan in the history of football. It didn't work.
Offense and defense and special teams.
Right.
That was all Kirk. That was Kirk's game plan across the board, is what people don't understand. All the fair catches, right? The most conservative special teams we've ever witnessed. Yeah. The defense, 7 yards back every play, no matter what, right?
3rd and 2, and we got a 10-yard cushion.
Yeah. We know they start the game like that, right? And then Parker adjusts, right? Mm-hmm. He always starts the game back because he doesn't want to give up a big play, and then he'll adjust to what the offense is actually doing. They played the whole game on their heels. Yeah. The most conservative game plan we have ever witnessed. And the offense was the offense, right? They just did what they did every week. They handed the ball off and they tried different things. But the offense did. That was always conservative with heavy D in there running the show.
Okay. So Kate's obviously our number 1. Kirk has said that. So Brandon Sullivan fighting with Marco for number 2, but my gut tells me Brandon Sullivan, because of experience, will be the number 2 quarterback when they come out of fall camp. But what I want to know from you, Jason, I know you're a huge Marco fan. What I want to know from you, if he gets the Deuce Hogan and Joey Labus treatment this year, are you still a fan?
I'm following Marco wherever he goes.
Yeah, but I meant, are you still a fan of Kirk if he treats Marco the way he did Labus and Hogan?
I don't think they will. I told you guys through the spring, all the coaches already knew what was going to happen. And then in spring ball, and I saw somebody posted on your page that Marco is so far behind Deacon, he sucks, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I just ignored it. Because the reason I did the podcast that night is because I talked with some coaches, remember? And I told you, and the night before the spring game, I told you what Marco was going to do. Remember? I told you exactly what the coaches were thinking, and he excelled at exactly that. Now, I don't think he's going to get that kind of treatment because he's going to be the number 2 quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
The reason this is the most hilarious thing. The reason why Sullivan transferred is because he was going to get beat out by a younger quarterback at Northwestern. He was not their starter last year. He was their number 2.
Right.
That's what people. Then he started, and he did not do much. Right. Look at what he did. They won because of defense. They won using Iowa style. They ran more of a Tim Lester offense, right? They spread them out and everything, but they did not win, with a ton of offense. They won with their defense and their head coach's style on game day. Same thing with Iowa, right? He transferred out of Northwestern. He did not transfer out of Northwestern because he wanted to get a bunch of money. He didn't get any money from Iowa. Iowa was the only one to offer him, just like Iowa was the only one that offered Heavy D. We love to offer these quarterbacks, and then the fans go crazy because Sullivan played last year. I mean, we have fans that are just gung-ho Sullivan. I'm like, why do you think he transferred? He transferred from Northwestern because he wasn't going to play.
Yeah.
He didn't transfer because he was going to be made the starter and get all this NIL money. No.
Okay.
No,
I want to point out that Jerry thinks that Marco will start out as number 3, and then after the 4th game will be number 2.
I mean, okay.
Thank you, Jerry, for your opinion.
I mean, if that happens, then it'd be favoritism because Lester knows Sullivan. But Marco is too good that I don't see that happening. Cade, Cade is our guy. You guys know why Cade's our guy, right? They gave him $800,000. It's a new world. Mm-hmm. He's going to be our guy regardless. They gave him $800,000. They're not going to put $800,000 on the bench.
Over under and how many games he makes it.
Well, yeah. I mean, if he gets injured, he gets injured, right? But they're not going to sit an $800,000 quarterback. They're not like Texas. They can't afford to get Manning for $3 million and then have him not play it down.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised Manning hasn't left Texas yet. He could start anywhere else.
They're giving him so much money. He's going to start next year, not this year, but I'm sure they're going to give him some playing time. In the blowouts, he'll play, and their quarterback could get. If Quinn gets hurt again, he's going to take over. Go ahead, Paul.
I tell you, it's nice to have a QB room where we've got 3 guys that have some game experience, right? I mean, we've got Cade, who has championship experience. Yeah. And then, Sullivan, who has Big Ten experience, and then Marco with limited but still some game reps under his belt. That's something we really didn't have last year. And I think that'll give Kirk a little more peace of mind options.
Okay.
Right.
Hey, guys, while we got it just a little low, I want to plug Jerry's podcast. It's called Punting is Winning. You can find it on YouTube. And so it's very good. A couple of good guys that are just have discussion back and forth on a lot of good things. And Jerry and I and his partner all saw our starting offense and defense pretty much the same last week. Our starting defense. So I just want to bring that up and just give Jerry a shout out if anybody can listen to his podcast.
Definitely.
I'll check it out.
Okay.
I love the name Punting is Winning. That's fantastic.
I know.
By the way, I had a hard time finding it because there's another couple of stuff out there with Punting is Winning on it. So it took me a minute to find it, but just keep looking around. You'll find it.
Hey, Jerry, can you share it? Can you copy and paste it into the chat? Because, I'm not very good on a computer. I just might not find it. if it's hard to find, I just may not find it. Just being honest.
Hey, Coach, what kind of hat is that?
Can't see it.
Shelby. It's a racing hat, basically, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The Shelby Mustang. I got it in Vegas at the Shelby Museum, which if you're a car guy, you got to check it out. It was amazing. Both my boys, my youngest though is a Chevy person, so he loves his Camaros. been to the Corvette Museum in Ohio. So we went to this one for my oldest boy. He races Mustangs, as you guys know.
Yeah.
I've showed you his guys' Mustang.
He seems like he's doing pretty well too.
Oh yeah, he is. He is. He was kind of salty because we possibly could be getting flooded. So the racetrack had to take all their electronics down, and floods coming from South Dakota again, like it did a few years ago. Apparently, they got like 11 inches of rain or something up north. Like
you guys in the Midwest are just getting hammered all the time. Yeah. It's like there's no let up.
I mean, I wish they would actually do something like build levees, like build something higher than what we have, because another flood's going to come. I mean,
yeah,
it just destroys crops. It destroys everything in its path, and the water gets diseased. But yeah,
okay.
So that's what it is. It does have. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Ford is as American as apple pie.
That's right. So, question for you on offensive scheming. When teams are doing those pre-snap motions that we love, right? When the offense gets to the line of scrimmage, the defense is they're communicating with each other, right? They're communicating their assignments, things like that. When the offense makes a major shift, when they have tight ends changing sides or wide receivers moving pre-snap, that changes defensive assignments at times, right?
Oh yeah. That's why. Okay, I'm going to give you a perfect example. We're going to have to do another show, after I learn about what's going on with my mother-in-law and stuff. And I will do it on the whiteboard. It'd be so much easier for me to show you than actually tell you. But I could tell you this. Okay, do you remember, Peyton Manning's first year in Tampa Bay, right? He was throwing interceptions more than, and people were talking about his age. Well, it wasn't all that. It was in like the first, 6 games, I want to say, before he said, we have to run motion with our receivers so I know what the heck the defense is doing, right? So when these motions go, it changes assignments. It changes everything for the defense. Plus, sorry, I had to burp. Plus, it tells the quarterback, or at least gives them an idea of what the defense is. You could see so much because the defense could flip into cover 3. It could flip into cover 4, depending on what they were coached to do in that particular situation, right? They could just be in man. They may look like they're in zone, but then when you bring somebody in motion across, well, they got to show that they're in man, right? Because the defender is going to come across the formation with the receiver. Right there, if they have 2 deep safeties, then it's cover 2 man under. But if they don't have safeties, geez, this is man coverage, right? Then right what to do with the football. That's how important motions are. That's kind of what changed the game. Where back in the day, they didn't do a lot of motions, right? It kind of changed the game on offense when all of a sudden they started doing a lot of motions. It's because it does. Now it's starting like the 90s, really big time. But the 80s did it a little bit. The Chargers of the 80s did it a little bit. But I wish I could draw it for you. But yeah, you're 100% accurate. All the motions, it tells you what the defense is thinking, at least a little bit, right? Or it confuses them, and they don't even know what to do. So it could leave a receiver wide open. There's a perfect play. Speaking of motion, Paul against Rutgers. Nate Stanley's senior year against Rutgers. I want to say it was at Iowa. There's a play to ISM. Okay. He came in motion and went like inside the tackle, and he saw like nobody was following him, but the safety kind of came up a little bit. So he went back out. It was obviously coached. It was a great play call. So, Stanley made him go back out because they saw what the defense was doing. And then they hit him on like a 50-yard touchdown pass because he went to the gap that was left, and he was so much faster than that safety that came down when he came in motion. And when he came in motion, it told Nate Stanley what the defense was doing. We'll have to do, maybe I can find a way we could do this, and I'll show you some of these plays on what I'm talking about. And that was a game where Iowa beat Rutgers 30-0. So I know that. And Stanley hit ISM for 2 touchdowns that day. But on that big 50-yarder, it was motion that confused the defense. It changed the assignments. It made the safety come down. Well, once the safety came down, Stanley made ISM go back out, and then boom. He went right to that gap with his speed. The safety could not get back fast enough, and he hit ISM just perfect over the shoulder bomb.
Yeah.
So
how valuable could that be on the road then, right? Because when you're at home, it's quiet, right? For the most part, the defense can communicate much easier on the road than they can at home. So,
right.
it's
big time. It's big time because everybody knows, like, you're obviously, and this is another thing, Paul, with what you and I have been talking about. Yeah, we didn't do the podcast back then, but Brian's been doing this motion for so long, but he just would not do it every game. Like it's silly. Like he was either he was outsmarting himself, like saying, well, they're going to be ready for it this time, so I'm not going to do it again, which makes no sense because you still help the quarterback. You just go to a different receiver, right?
I know.
If they, like, when the defense blitzes, what do we do, Paul?
You throw into the blitz.
You throw into the blitz.
Yeah.
And when they did that one time against Purdue, we hit freaking Reganey on a 30-yard touchdown, throwing on the slant route right into the blitz. We've seen that they were capable so many times, but they did not do it very often, which is so weird because they were obviously coached. Go ahead.
Was it an issue of not getting a play call in fast enough too? Because you have to have time to get to the line, get set, and then start doing these motions, right?
I mean, you're not wrong. I can't say that obviously for a fact, right? But to me, it is. Because to me, when I call plays, I want my quarterback to a line of scrimmage minimum 15 seconds, right? Minimum. Like, you should already know what you're going to do. Okay, if this doesn't work, we're going to run this play. If we pick up 5, I'm going to run this play. So you should not be thinking, okay, what play am I going to run this time, right? The offensive corner has to be ahead as far as so you can get the play in to get the team to the line of scrimmage with a decent amount of time because the quarterback has so much to think about. And with getting to the line of scrimmage with just 10 seconds or under, I mean, there were some times when they would get to the line of scrimmage under 10 seconds because Brian would not get the play out, right?
Some of that feels like that's a downside of trying to call plays from on the field, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're down there, you're part of the emotions of the game and all the distractions of what's going on the sidelines and things like that.
That depends on the coach. Like, I would be on the sidelines like a Mike Leach because I have to talk to the quarterback face to face. So, like, that's where I would be. But Brian, you never really saw him talk to the quarterback unless he was yelling at him as they walked past, right? Whenever something would happen, he would yell at the quarterback as the quarterback's just walking by him, coming off the field. So Brian probably should have been up in the booth. So at this point, I can't argue what anybody says, like, in that situation. But we'll find out because Lester's not that kind of guy. Lester actually likes to run pretty fast. So if they do it this year, then we know that it's Kurt, right? I mean, you don't have to say hi. This is what I don't get. I disagree, Hank. I disagree 100%. But some OCs do. You're right. Like Brian probably did, and he did have anger issues. We saw it on the sidelines. But
we also heard about it too when the open mics were.
Yeah. Well, he also had issues up in the press box rather than the Minnesota game. I think he had an incident.
I don't I know. But anyway, what the heck was I saying now before I read that?
Sorry.
I completely forgot what I I was on a roll about something. Oh, about getting to the line of scrimmage. But so we'll know, like, if it happens this year with Lester, then it has something to do with Kirk, right? The quarterback has to get to the line of scrimmage, and you don't have to say hike, right? So if it is Kirk, what is his reasoning? Because you can get the team to the line of scrimmage, and the quarterback can look over, but you don't have to say hike yet, right? You don't even need the lineman to get down. You can have the lineman get down with 8 seconds left on the clock if that's what you're trying to do. But get the team to the line of scrimmage, let them know, and then the quarterback will lift his legs so they know, okay, the snap will be coming any second. We can let it get under 5. Like, if that's really the goal, that goal does not make any sense. Because you can get to the line of scrimmage, right, and still snap the ball under 5 seconds. Right? And your team would be ready. You're up there, the quarterback knows. If you have somebody coming in motion, have them come in motion with 8 seconds on the clock, right? Then the quarterback could see. I mean, 10 seconds is a lot of time if you're already there set up, right? It's not a lot of time when you're just breaking the huddle with 10 seconds.
Okay. So is the headset in the helmet this year going to take away from the sign signals that the 2 backup quarterbacks are doing? Take the place for the next play?
That's going to depend on the coordinator, because a lot of that, the coordinator will be talking to the quarterback with the signals coming in. It just depends on the person. I did not know this was a thing in college, so
it's new this year.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll be learning on the fly. You guys take it. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. So, Paul, until he gets back, who do you think gets the majority of the running back snaps this year?
Ooh.
For me, it's between Williams and Johnson, but I'm going with Johnson. Although Williams thinks he's going to be all Big Ten and be a 1,000-yard rusher.
Yeah. I really like Williams. I think he's got a different kind of versatility that I really think Kirk likes. Reminds me a little bit of like Albert Young, that kind of versatility. Johnson, he's more kind of a big play guy, and so. And then don't forget about is it Terrell Washington? Is that his name?
Yeah, I think he's going to be more. He's working more with the receivers than he is the running backs, but he's working with both.
And so, I mean, I think they've got 3 guys that they really like and can kind of do different things. And so, it may be one of those hot hand kind of things, right? Where who's seeing the field that day and hitting the hole.
That's what my hope is.
Yeah, I think Liddell Betts said. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say Paul's right, because there are so many times when Iowa has a running back, and I'll go all the way back to the big dude. Oh, who's the big dude? Dang it! And he would always. He went into the draft. He went undrafted. He's played arena ball. He played with Wadley, and he was on the. He played with Goodson as well. Like, he was on there with Goodson. Like, he always averaged 5 yards a freaking carry. I cannot remember his name.
Is it Wiseman?
But no,
it was. When did the guy? His brother played center. Daniels.
Oh no,
Daniels.
Not him either. That's Daniels. Okay. I'll tell you his name. You'll remember. But anyway, like, I can go, if you go back and watch the Wisconsin game. He was averaging 5 yards a pop. They gave him 2 drives the whole game, and then when they got in the field goal range, Torrin Young. Torrin Young, exactly. That's him. He averaged like 5 yards a carry, like, in his career. And there he had some because he wasn't fast or shifty, but he was a Wiseman type, but he had better vision than Wiseman. Like he would find holes and they would be moving the ball with him in the game, but then they would take him out. And then they wouldn't put him back in. They put in Goodson and Martin, the other dude, Martin, what was his name? Ivory Martin. God, I'm having
Ivory Martin. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm having brain issues. Torrin Young. Torrin Young was one of my favorites as well because he was just a beast, and you put him in there, and he ran well. I just wish he got a shot.
Mm-hmm.
And when he was in there, they did great, but they would always take him out because he wasn't the shifty, the fast guy. There was one time where he broke a 60-yard run. Literally nobody around him, and he got caught from behind. Like, that's how slow he was. He probably ran a 4.7 40 type. If you go, it was like a Middle Tennessee State or something. It was one of those games. He broke a 60-yarder. Nobody around it. He could have looked like he could have jogged to the end zone, and he got caught from behind. He was like ready to fall down. So, but anyway, I'm with you on that. I mean, a lot of coaches don't do that. They believed in, diversity instead of, wait, this kid's seeing the hole. Let's just keep pounding with him. So I hope if they did that, Johnson probably does get his 1,000, right? Because there was sometimes a year ago where they would do the same thing to him, where he was looking good, but then they would run Williams. And then there's times where they would run Johnson and not Williams, even though Williams was seeing it. So sometimes coaches outsmart themselves.
Yeah, don't forget about Jazz Patterson or I think it's Camry Moulton. I think that's his first name.
Kamari Moulton, yeah.
Kamari, yeah. Those two should be seeing a lot of this year. I believe Liddell Betts said it'll be by the hot hand by committee this year. Whoever has the hot hand will get the carries.
I mean, that's what I'm hoping for. But the reason why, they have what's his name? I like Moulton a lot. But the reason why they have the other running back working with the receivers is because they are going to do some fly sweeps, right? They do want dudes with the ball in their hands who can run with it. And I think they should use Brown. Brown's extremely good. You could tell he's a former running back. He doesn't catch the ball very well, but when the ball's in his hands, he looks good.
Yeah.
I want to see
Speaking of Brown, do you want to address that question there about him?
I'll say this. I think before Kirk is really going to say anything about it, he's got to let the legal process kind of go about it.
Yeah.
I don't know at this point, he may have pled not guilty and then working on a plea deal and things like that. So right now there's not a lot Kirk can say about it until there's some type of conviction or, what is
I think this is going to be, I think it's going to be Kirk's way regardless, and he's going to be suspended. If he's found guilty or whatever, it'll probably be a couple games. But I think no matter what, he'll be suspended for game one, right? And then kind of see what the legal system does.
Yeah. Well, there's another part of this too that nobody's talking about, and his car had front end damage. Well, you don't get front end damage by reversing around somebody's front yard. So he must have hit another car somewhere and ran from that scene. And so if they find that part out,
could have already been there. That damage could have already been there from something else. So,
yeah, like on a previous hit and run.
I'm just saying,
do we know that it happened that night? I think is what.
Yeah,
Paul's
we
saying.
don't. We don't know unless somebody.
I mean, to me, that just sounds like somebody trying to add to a story. I mean, Kirk probably
it was something
knows.
I thought of because I kept thinking this front end damage thing doesn't make sense in my eyes. So I'm trying to think because they said they found him doing circles in reverse on somebody's front lawn.
Yeah.
Well,
and the other thing to remember is they have that student code of conduct or whatever. There's some statutory stuff in there. So,
yeah.
I mean, if that's the case.
I think the thing that gets him is the fake ID because in Iowa, that's a felony.
He has a fake ID too?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he might be done.
I think he was foolish to show it to the police unless they found it when they took him to jail.
I mean, he might get the treatment. Do you remember the freshman wide receiver from like 2005. He was Douglas. Was his name Douglas?
Oh, I
Oh,
remember.
yeah,
Yeah,
you
didn't he
remember
leave
that?
Iowa?
No, he got kicked off the team because of fake IDs.
Well, he was part of that money, the cash money guys, whatever they call themselves. That Dominique
Yeah.
Douglas, he was talented. He had some really good games as a true freshman.
No, yeah, he led the team in catches as a true freshman. Like he was a stud. He ruined his life.
But
Yeah.
and that's one of them things too. Like I said, Kirk really has to let the legal process play out because this all could get pled down to something, maybe to a OWI and then whatever. I don't know, but
So in about 2.5. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Until we know what he's actually charged with or convicted of or whatever, Kirk's going to have to wait on that before he levies.
Yeah.
And I'll guarantee that at the media days, he will be asked about that.
Of course he will. And he'll probably just say it's still an open thing and he can't comment.
Guys, can you believe we're almost there? Media days in about 2.5 weeks. And then
excited.
Fall camp opens up and August 31st is our first game.
College football comes out next week. I'm in a money league. I'm excited. I'm ready to go with that as well. The video game comes out. I got to use Stanford in it, though, so that sucks. Because they use I
can't even get my hands on one because I have the wrong system, and they're not releasing it in any other system.
Yeah, I don't think my PS3 will support it, so.
No.
I got an Xbox One, and they're not going to put it out on Xbox One. But
I know nothing about Xbox.
It's going on the next 2 levels. I think it's called somebody knows.
I mean, mine's PS5. I've been PlayStation all the way. I don't know anything about Xbox.
I inherited this Xbox One when my grandson went up, and he's on the next one up now. But he can get it for his.
Hank says Gen X. It must be Xbox X or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, I want to go back.
Yeah, there he goes. He's telling us right there. Yeah.
Yeah, I have the PS5. I have Sony everything because it's user friendly. Like anything with like an operating system like Xbox and a computer, I suck at. So that's why I have Apple everything too, because it's user friendly.
Yeah.
But what was I going to say? Okay. Now Hank said something a while ago before we got down this rabbit hole of breaking the law. Mm-hmm. What was about the 1,000 signs or something? Like, so they're not going to do signs? Like, this is because I've been, ill, you guys know. So I don't know a lot about some of the new stuff. But I didn't know anything about them. So they're going to be calling plays through a headset, right? He said that. So is that so there won't be a quarterback, the 2 quarterbacks in red jerseys now? So how many seconds does he get to talk to the quarterback? That's my question. Is it like 15 seconds? There's no way.
I think they'll still probably signal the plays in because especially like you go to Columbus, you got your quarterback doing this number, trying to hear where, and not to mention if you're playing Michigan and you think they're stealing signs, right? So you still have to go through the motions. Yeah, here's what we're going to do, Big Blue. Come get it.
Oh, here's one thing, too. What if the other team can get on your radio frequency and hear your calls?
That's why they changed the rule. Michigan stealing signs, well, they're like, well, let's just put the headset on then. It'll be like the NFL. Okay, so they get 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I just think that you hit on something earlier. I think with under Lester, they're going to get up to the line of scrimmage a whole lot quicker. He even talked a little tempo this year, possibly.
Well, that's what he likes to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think that will answer the question. Is it really Kirk? Right? Like if Lester slows down like Brian was, then we know it's Kirk.
Well, I think Kirk all but said that we're going to still play the Iowa way. So whatever that means in your mind. I think it means when we get to 8 to 12 point lead, we're shutting it down, even under Lester's system.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to suck, but yeah. But as long as they win, who cares, right?
Right.
I mean, we
You know,
can't
and
argue.
that's okay. I was going to ask you: is it more important to win or score the points and lose?
My thing, it's more important to win with Iowa. Okay, you guys know I'm a huge Mike Leach fan. Like that's who. I mean, like I took 3 years of coaching classes with Mike Leach, right? So my offense is based around what I learned from Mike Leach. I run the air raid / run and shoot because I loved June Jones's offense as well. So I can't with those offenses. I just loved watching those offenses, right? And they didn't win a whole lot. We had our moments at Texas Tech, and we had our moments in Hawaii with June Jones. If you guys remember, 2007 Hawaii team was fun, but I with Iowa, I don't care. I just want to win, regardless. I don't care. I don't care what it looks like. I just want Iowa to win.
And they do, and I think they're going to continue to.
Yeah. I mean, and with Kirk being, what was it, 72-2 or 73-2 when he gets an 8-point lead at any point in the game, I mean, we can't argue with his style.
Right.
The only time we can argue with it is when it's like that game plan against Penn State when they lose 30-0, right? Because it was like they didn't even try. They were just trying to do the bare minimum and not get blown out, which in turn they got blown out. Yeah. So I mean, that kind of stuff we can argue with, but we can't argue with his overall record because they've had one of the best overall records since 2015.
They have. Right? They have. We can't argue with the win total. However, I would like to argue that I would like to win the Big Ten outright one year and now go to the playoffs. And for the next 3 years, this might be our best chance. When you look at the next two schedules beyond this year, it gets really rough.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they say. You know, we have those West Coast teams aren't rough. I don't even care about those West Coast teams.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Paul.
I'm excited to see us having just a below average competent offense, because that is going to, it adds pressure to the other team's offense to score. And we've lost our turnover edge on defense because teams haven't had to take chances on offense. And so, I mean, adding, 6 points or 8 more points per game or 10 more points per game just means that teams are going to have to throw into coverage more. They're going to take more chances, and that's where we can be more successful on defense.
I 100% agree with that. You're right. The interceptions have gone way down because the teams haven't had to try to score, right? They can legit just take what the defense gives you, right? That's all they had to do. They could be 3 yards in a cloud of dust.
They didn't really worry about going 3 and out and punting against a good defense because there was, we have as good a chance as they do of stealing this thing 6-3 if they can't score.
Right. So, I mean, yeah, with Iowa, I just want Iowa to win, but and I think we will see a competent offense because of the style. It's really hard to look competent when you're in a phone booth, right? Which was Brian's style. I mean, once he went into conservative mode or whatever, that's just such an easy offense to stop. Yeah. Right? But if we they didn't look competent just because they weren't able to do some things. Mm-hmm. And with Lester, like you mentioned, Paul, I think he's still, no matter what the score is, he's still going to be spread out, running those motions, but he's going to run the football, which is what he does. And that will help Kirk understand, right? Because Kirk at times does not want to throw the football. So with Lester at least running the football with different angles, right? Outside, everything, having those fly sweeps, having motions, is going to help Iowa's offense even when they have that lead. I mean, I think you're 100% on that, Paul.
Well, honestly, thinking, I don't know where I'm at. I really think I would like to score more points. And if our offense is even gets to 100, we should be able to beat the teams like Minnesota, because the fact that we couldn't go 20 yards for a game-winning field goal still bugs me. If we'd had any kind of offense, we'd have won that game.
Yeah, well, we did win that game, Dean, but that's a whole other story.
Okay, but technically, we know we won it, but on the lost one record and the officials, we did not. But we still had despite them taking away the touchdown, all they had to do was 20 yards and a field goal, and we win.
When Heavy D completed a pass, it was a miracle, right? I mean, you got to understand, the hefty lefty, his windup took forever. Well, he had more fumbles than any quarterback I've ever seen as well, because he kept putting the ball down here so they could get at it instead of keeping it up. And then when he throws it, it took an hour and a half to go back and throw. So
I think we're going to have to put a wrap on this thing too, Jerry, because we're an hour 15 in. So
yeah, this is our first one back, so we're just chit chatting. We've talked about so many different things,
right?
Yeah, I think we did. I mean, I'm kind of glad this went real easy, went smooth. I didn't know about.
So,
yeah,
Jerry's. If you guys missed it earlier, Jerry's podcast is Punting is Winning, and
it is about Hawkeye sports.
And we are fans of the Punting is Winning podcast. So
yeah.
Make sure.
By the way, they are not live. They're recording it. They'll probably release it sometime tomorrow on YouTube.
Oh, they don't do it live like we do, because we don't know how to do all that other stuff.
Right.
No.
We don't know how to record.
This is another thing. Okay. I like the interaction with the people live. Okay, that's part of it. The second of all, in order to record it and then edit it properly, I would have to pay some money. We're using the free version of StreamYard, not the paid version.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So anyway,
he added a link up there, guys. It's up there. Just scroll back through the comments and you'll find it. He added the link.
I think Paul wants to take a nap.
Paul.
Yeah, make sure you guys check out Jerry's pod. Give him a like. Follow that podcast as well. It's good stuff. It's fun. So.
By the way, Paul, I was listening to one of our mine and Nolan's old podcasts before we went to YouTube. He was projecting your old Turkey Legs podcast and how good it was. I've forgotten all about your turkey legs.
Like John
that's
turducken? Was it a turducken?
Well, we actually it was actually called Big Ass Herky Legs.
Oh.
And it was
Herky Legs. Okay, I said turkey.
It was really in reference to the Big Ass Turkey Legs guy outside of Kinnick. If you've been to a Kinnick game, and you could hear him from a mile away with his big ass turkey.
I have a few pictures of my fat butt eating one of those. So there was a time in my life where I had to have one every year. Like 20 years ago when I was there, I had to have one every single year.
Okay.
All right,
guys. I have to do an online virtual tour of a house I'm looking at in Oklahoma to buy, and so I do have to say goodbye.
Boomer Sooner. Yeah. No, wait, that's bad Paul.
Bad Paul. Honestly, guys, there is a 50% chance I might be moving to Oklahoma and in the Norman area.
Anything's better than California. That's all I say.
Right. Yeah.
I could never live there, so that's just me.
Too many people pooping on the street for me.
Although that's probably going to be a culture shock for you, California to Oklahoma.
Oh, you mean I won't see any more homeless people in Oklahoma City? We're not actually looking to move to Oklahoma City, but one of the outlying cities near us.
Right.
Okay.
He's going to get a pair of cowboy boots, some Wrangler jeans, some cowboy boots. I can't wait to see those pictures.
Yeah, right. I appreciate everybody who took the time to listen and comment. There were several people who did not comment because we were up to 6 or 7 at one time. checking the side thing there. So you guys don't be afraid to comment next time if you're shy, just say it anyway. We don't care. We have fun here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We like to have fun and laugh, as you can tell.
Your mind can't be more warped than Paul and mine.
There we go. I'm not warped at all, but
No.
Some of those things that Paul posts on the group chat, I don't understand sometimes. I'm really naive.
I've done my best to corrupt Dean, and it still hasn't taken hold yet. So,
true story. That's true story.
Well, I got to watch what I say and do, because family does watch, and so do my church members. My men that I go to Bible study actually follow this podcast.
Nice.
Okay, so guys, I think on that note, we should get out of here. I'll let you guys know when I'm ready to do another podcast if you guys want to join me, or I'll just go solo. But I'm probably looking at Wednesday evening sometime, like I usually do.
We'll see what we can do.
Yeah,
I'll let you guys know, and if you want to join. If not, that's okay too.
Sounds good.
All right, guys.
See you guys.
Get out of here.
You guys, go Hawks, everybody.
And don't forget
Terry.
your signature, Terry. Hi, Terry. Bye.